Final look at traffic conditions this morning. Gadsden at Laurel in downtown Columbia. Also an accident I-26 eastbound before exit 101. I-26 eastbound after I-126. Old Bluff Road at Bluff. And a final accident to let you know about Long Green Parkway at Clemson Road. Sunny and 62 today. The sunshine should be hopefully burning off the remainder of that heavy fog that we had this morning. Tomorrow, cloudy and 67. The rest of the week, we're going to be in the low 70s, so we'll certainly welcome that. Right now, though, 42 on 107.5 The Game.
Oh, 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. Welcome back in to the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry for the first time in 2026 back here in Columbia. Welcome back, Jack. How we doing today, man?
Dude, it's been far too long since I've seen you.
It's been like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, because we were off for 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then you had the holidays. And
Yep.
Now we're back.
I wasn't here on the last Friday either.
Yeah, so I haven't seen you since.
I know.
Like mid-December, basically. It's crazy.
I'll apologize in advance for my voice. I've been sick for about the past week, so voice still isn't back to 100% yet.
It's okay.
That's the nature of going home for the holidays is somebody gets sick, then somebody else gets sick, and then you get sick. And, that's just how the cookie crumbles.
You would think with the few weeks off, your voice would be able to rest and recuperate. But
Well, that was the thing is like the first week off I've had in 6 months, and I spent it downing Mucinex
oh, yeah.
and stuff. I did try my mom told me to try the whiskey with lemon and honey trick for my voice the other. Did actually work.
Wow.
Didn't taste phenomenal, but did work. Burned a little bit going down, but
Whiskey and lemon. That's crazy. I've never heard of that
honey.
before.
And honey.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Soothes the throat a little bit.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do that before the show started today, obviously, for many reasons. But again, apologies for my voice. I'm still getting over that.
All
so
good.
you have to deal with that today.
No, good holiday though.
Yeah, pretty good. Overall, not too bad. I got my niece and nephew. Have you heard of Easy Riders? These scooters that you propel.
No.
You don't pedal it. You move them back and forth.
Is it like when we were kids, we had razor scooters. Is it like that?
It's like a thing that you sit down on. You're at the ground level and you put your feet on these bars and you move them back and forth and it moves it.
So
this is
like a bike, basically.
not really like a bike. I'll have to show you a picture in the
You'll have
break.
to show me a picture.
Because every year, my nephew is 11 and my niece is now 2025. She's 8. So I always ask my sister, hey, what do they want for Christmas?
Yeah.
And she just sends me, the Amazon list. And they wanted these Easy Rider things. Okay, simple enough. And we put them together. We give them to them. And, they have been going crazy for these things, riding them out in the street and all that kind of stuff. So I think my wife and I won gift given of the holiday.
Totally, yeah. I mean, gosh, that sounds like a great gift. Yeah, you'll have to show me what this looks like, but... Yeah, good holiday here, and glad to be back, man. It's been far too long. I feel like a lot has happened.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It would be tough to cover it all in a show, but luckily we're back on air every single day now. Which
yes.
I'm glad we're back to a normal schedule now.
We're gonna do our best to squeeze everything that we missed into the next 2 hours. Whatever we don't get today, we'll obviously get to tomorrow and as the week goes along. And that's the thing about where we are now, especially now the transfer portal opened, because again, this year's different. The portal opened on January 2nd. It'll stay open through the 12th through putting your name in. But you can still get guys out of the portal after that. So
Yeah.
we're going to continue. We got a guy in Jaden Gibson that's been officially signed out of the portal or committed out of the portal as well. They'll get to a little bit later on in the show, but we're going to be in that fluid time the next couple days of, all right, well, this guy is officially coming to South Carolina. These guys are visiting and all that kind of stuff that we'll have to talk about as the week goes along.
Yeah, it's just crazy how much is not even just South Carolina, but just so much stuff has happened over the like you would think, oh, it's end of December, it's Christmas time, it's New Year's, we're not going to miss that much, right? And then, oh wait, all these big players are returning to South Carolina, and then all this happens in the college football playoff. It's NFL. I mean, it's crazy. So we'll definitely try to get to as much of it as we can.
We'll try and get to all of it over the next couple of hours, but as always, we must kick things off at 9 o'clock with the Sandstorm Pick Me Up.
Time to get hyped.
Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm.
Sponsored by George Fink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick Me Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803 all nines. You mentioned the NFL. We're watching the replay of what happened last night between the Ravens and the Steelers. Wild end to the NFL regular season with the Steelers winning on a missed walk-off field goal by the Ravens. Black Monday's rolling on. Just got the notification that Kevin Stefanski's been fired by the Browns. It's going to be a very busy day, Jack.
Yeah, I wonder how many other coaches are going to get fired. Stefanski's not that much of a surprise since the Browns just have not panned out under him. I mean, he's been there for 6 seasons. It's crazy how long he's been there. I wonder the big one, I was just talking about with Preston before I came in here. Does John Harbaugh get fired? I wonder that because the Ravens, look, they're missing the playoffs, 8-9. He's been there for a lot of,
Been there basically our whole lives.
Basically, yeah. I mean, like 18 years. It's crazy how long he's been there. Great game last night, though. I know we'll get into it more later, but man, that was that's game of the year right there. But yeah, I do wonder. His Black Monday, like you said, Raheem Morris getting fired. Do you want to take the floor on that real quick?
We'll probably dive into that a little bit more later.
Yeah.
It was much needed. I was not a fan of the hire in the first place. Season was disappointing. When you're eliminated from playoff contention a month ago and you still tie for the division win, yesterday was weird. In a lot of ways.
And just ending the season with a win to help the Panthers.
The Panthers won by sitting at home.
A weird day to end the football season, or regular season. So
no doubt. Again, a lot of things have happened over the past couple weeks from a Gamecock standpoint. As we were going into the Christmas holiday, they had obviously just introduced all of the new hires at that point in time. Stan Drayton as the running backs coach, Randy Clements as the offensive line coach, and of course Kendall Browse as the new offensive coordinator. We thought that was kind of the end of it. We're like, all right, there's your coaching staff change for the offseason. And then lo and behold, amidst our Christmas break, we find out, Sterling Lucas is leaving to go to LSU.
Yeah, that was definitely a bit of a surprise, and I think it definitely caught Shane Beamer off guard, too, when he recently talked about it when he introduced the new outside linebacker and edge coach. But, yeah, just definitely a little bit of a surprise, and to leave to go to LSU. And also think about it, Sterling Lucas he's from Orangeburg, so it's like he's got the local ties here. He's from South Carolina. To leave to go to LSU, I can understand it for a few different reasons. Like maybe you think it's a lateral move. It's a better job potentially. There's a little bit of uncertainty of, okay, if this season doesn't go well for South Carolina, he may not have a job next year, right? So I understand it from that standpoint. But yeah, the way, as Shane kind of gave more detail on and kind of explained it, you look at it more like, okay, this was kind of a not the best move of how Sterling seemingly handled it.
Yeah, and look, Sterling Lucas is, I don't think it's crazy to say he's been your best assistant of the Beamer era. When you look at the results that you've had, particularly the last couple years when it came to pass rushing, there was no threat of, his job security is on the line or anything like that. So when you lose him, you'll automatically get worried, especially when you talk about Dylan Stewart, who hadn't committed back to South Carolina at that point in time. Okay, what is going to happen now? Thankfully, Stewart did end up committing back to South Carolina. He's coming back for 2026. But yeah, you've lost not only a really good coach, but also a really good recruiter in Sterling Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the day that happened when Sterling, it popped up that Sterling was going to be leaving for LSU. The message boards were just tweaking. Everyone was like, oh, Dylan Stewart's gone. He's not coming back. Dylan Stewart is off to LSU. Lane Kiffin's got secured the bag. He's got him. Like, the amount of pessimistic takes that were, and I understand it.
Oh, sure.
Because it's like, it makes sense.
Because that's how things happen now.
Yes. If you're trying to poach a player from a school, you're going to do everything in your power to get that player to come. And if that means, hey, bringing in the coach that recruited Dylan Stewart to South Carolina, his position coach, by all means, do it. And
Yeah.
I would imagine that's what Lane Kiffin was trying to do. Now, ultimately, he didn't get Dylan Stewart. He did get Jaden Bryant, though,
Yep.
who committed to him this past weekend. But, yeah, I mean, just it's good to see that Dylan is going to stick around at South Carolina. I mean, he could have easily left. I mean, he's not from here. He's from the Washington D.C. area. So it wouldn't have been surprising if he left to go to LSU. But I think if you're a Gamecock fan, you're probably having a big sigh of relief after all that happened, because I know most people were reacting like, "Oh, this guy's gone. Like he's not coming back to South Carolina."
And I imagine there were probably some pretty hefty offers put on the table for Dylan Stewart's services, not only from LSU, around the entire country. And that was the concern as you went into the offseason. As you mentioned, Dylan Stewart doesn't have ties here. Dylan Stewart's not from South Carolina, didn't grow up a Gamecock fan, all those kind of things. The things that can keep some of these guys closer to home. You worried with the season that you had, okay, everybody's going to be throwing a bag at this guy just like they did a season ago to want to come play for them. And then when you have Sterling Lucas go to LSU, it's like, okay, well, like you said, the pessimistic takes people had on message boards. Oh, well, there he goes. Bye-bye, Dylan Stewart.
Yeah.
And give credit to Coach Beamer and Jeremiah Donati, Darren Usher, all of them for making it work, where even after losing the position coach, you still get Dylan Stewart back.
And to be honest, man, time will tell how this hire plays out. But I feel like bringing in Deion Barnes, like, it's just as good, if not better, potentially. Look at some of the guys he's developed coming over from Penn State. Abdul Carter is the big one that everyone knows. He went to the New York Giants as the second overall pick in this past year's draft. I mean, there's got to be some excitement if you're like Dylan Stewart, like staying at South Carolina and you get a really good guy to be your position coach. And hopefully South Carolina can bring in somebody off the other side of the edge to kind of help, Dylan out, because this year, I mean, Brian Thomas was great, but Dylan was getting double teamed and didn't probably have the season that he wanted to, or that we know he can have from a statistical standpoint. So it's good to see that Dylan's back. I think they got the right guy in there to help him in his what will be his potential, going to the draft year. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of excitement about where things are at right now.
We'll listen to Deion Barnes' introduction, as well as how Coach Beamer felt about the way Sterling Lucas left for LSU, coming up next as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry. Ed Bird is captaining the ship today as we continue on your Monday here on The Game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Monday on the Game, recapping everything that's happened over the past couple weeks. We were out for the holidays, and again, hope everybody out there had a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays and New Year as well. We're on January 5th. How long can we go continuing to say Happy New Year? Do you have a line for how long you can go saying Happy New Year to people?
I think, back when you were in school or whatever, whenever you'd go back, and my brother and sister don't go back to school at Clemson until Wednesday. I don't think USC is back till the 12th, I think. So
okay.
You're probably going to have people saying Happy New Year until then. For us, I think today is the last day I'll say Happy New Year. It's Monday. We're all back to normal now.
Yeah.
Maybe Tuesday on the 6th. But besides that, when you're a week into the new year, man, I think that's when you're like, okay, it's time to move on.
I'll expand it out to about 7 days, and there'll be people in the next couple days that I haven't seen yet this year that I'll say it towards. But yeah, once you get into the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, it's okay, I think we've gotten a little bit too far at that point. When you were back in school, by the way, there was always that dilemma for the first month when you would write the date on something.
Yes.
You'd always write the previous year and have to scratch it out and write the new year. I don't have to write the date nearly as much anymore, so I don't run into that problem as many more. But for any kids out there going back to school, I feel for you in that moment.
Yeah, but it's crazy. It's 2026, man.
It is 2026, man.
It's wild.
I'm superstitious. I'm a big fan of even number years.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is a good year. Yeah. We need it to be a good year. Last year was not great for most of the sports here.
No. Looking at you, men's sports.
Yes, please.
Not great. We got to be better this year.
Well, and obviously we're not going to know the results of football until the fall rolls around. But one of the bigger stories of the past couple weeks was Sterling Lucas leaving South Carolina to go take a job at Lane Kiffin's staff in LSU. And there's some details about the way that he went about it that Shane Beamer was none too pleased with. Cut number 1 here, Ed. This is Coach Beamer the other day introducing Deion Barnes, talking about how Sterling Lucas exited South Carolina.
Certainly happened fast, as you guys know. Got a call on a Thursday night after 11 p.m. from the previous coach that was here, telling me that he had been offered a job at another school, and by 9 a.m. the next morning, he was gone. A little bit unusual. Usually you get a phone call from the head coach of the school kind of giving you a heads up that he's interested in maybe talking to one of your coaches or things like that. That didn't happen, which, again, there's no rule that has to happen, but, it's kind of an unspoken rule. So didn't hear anything from the other school, didn't hear anything from the previous coach until he called to tell me that he had been offered a job. So it wasn't a very thorough interview process where you have a few days to kind of plan and think this might be coming down the track. It happened.
So it doesn't sound like Shane Beamer's going to be sending any Christmas cards to Sterling Lucas or Lane Kiffin anytime soon.
And that's the problem, I think, with how this went down. I don't think it's objectively, before we knew that statement right there of why and how Sterling left, if it's just, he just left to take an opportunity at another school, that's fine. Before the press conference, I think you're not happy that he left to go take a job at LSU in the SEC. It's not a rival school necessarily, but it's in your conference.
It's a school you're going to see in the next couple of years.
You can understand it, I think, when you look at it from what we said earlier about who knows what's going to happen in South Carolina this year. He may not have a job after this season. Who knows? So you understand it from that standpoint, but then you get the deeper context of, okay, well, he didn't really give you much of a heads up, and Lane Kiffin, of course, didn't call to say he was interested in talking and interviewing Sterling Lucas. When you learn that, it's okay, this the way this was handled was not professional.
Yeah, and again, it's an unspoken rule between coaches, as Coach Beamer said, that, hey, it's common courtesy to at least let the coach know I'm talking to somebody on your staff, because that, at least helps prepare them for what could be coming very soon. Lane Kiffin chose not to do that. I do wonder, though, going back to when Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss and, the thing about get on the plane or you're not coming with me type of thing that he had with some of his assistant coaches, I wonder how small of a window it was between talking to Sterling Lucas and him actually accepting the job. and how all that went down from like a more fine detail standpoint.
I wonder that too. I mean, I think it's a little bit different from the Ole Miss to LSU situation where Lane is literally leaving the next day, and it's like, hey, you coming with me or you're not? I think here it probably wasn't like that necessarily, but I mean, who's to say? You know, we don't know for sure what the timetable was looking like, but you know, look, for LSU, it's a great hire to bring in a guy like Sterling Lucas. You didn't get Dylan Stewart, but heck, you get a great coach that is going to do some really good things. And look, for South Carolina, I think they got a good hire to replace him in Deion Barnes. So I think everyone kind of wins in this situation.
One more note on Lane Kiffin really quick. Terry and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. Do you think Lane Kiffin doesn't respect Shane Beamer? Like, let's go back to what happened a couple years ago with the Juice Wells stuff. You have this with Sterling Lucas. Like, if Kiffin was poaching somebody from, like, Kirby's staff or Sarkisian's staff, do you think he would give the courtesy call? Do you think he just doesn't respect Shane?
I think I think it's different with those guys because, he coached with them at Alabama.
True.
There's a certain group of people I think he has respect for. I think those two, Nick Saban. I mean, he hasn't coached with Shane, right? So, I mean, it's, you know. I mean, look,
I don't think they're buddies or anything.
No, I don't think so either. And now we do know they do have the whole SEC coaches group chat, so I can imagine that thing was. I'm sure there were some messages probably sent, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, Lane's like a mystery, honestly. He's such an interesting character that it's like you never know what you're going to get out of him. So it would not surprise me at all if he has no respect for Shane.
So after this happens, you mentioned the SEC coach group chat. Do you think Shane is the type of person that in the group chat is like, well, some of us follow the rules around here, but I guess that doesn't apply to everybody? Or do you think he just leaves it alone?
I'd like to think he leaves it alone, but deep down, I'm sure maybe there was, maybe not in the group chat necessarily, but maybe more of a text to Lane himself personally, like, hey man, like, WTF, like what's going on here, man? You couldn't give me the courtesy. I think it would have, the situation would have been a lot different had there been some sort of courtesy. But is it like, I guess it's like one of those unwritten rules, right? Where, you know, you want the courtesy, and then you find out the next day, oh, wait, your coach is just up and ending leaving. Like, I mean, I think any coach in this situation would kind of react the way Shane did.
Yeah, like Lane Kiffin didn't violate any, like, actual rule. But again, it's that mutual respect kind of thing that all coaches like, hey, this is just kind of how business is. I do think Lane Kiffin, though, if Beamer were to send him a text like, hey, man, WTF, he probably would just like it. He wouldn't respond. He'd just give him a thumbs up and then never respond to it again. Like, that seems like something Lane Kiffin would do.
That would be exactly how it would go down.
So let's learn who the new head coach, the new outside linebackers and edge coach for South Carolina is going to be. That is Deion Barnes, cut number 12 here, Ed. This is him introducing himself to the media the other day.
How you guys doing? I'm happy to be here. I want to thank Coach Beamer, Coach White for believing in me. I want to thank the board for believing in me as well. I'm more excited than anything to get to work. That's why I texted Coach Beamer last night, said I'm ready to get to work. I love this game. I love coaching young players. I love helping guys reach their full potential. That's what I'm all about. So I'm excited to get to work and help these guys out. And those that want to get to the next level, I'm going to push them towards that way. And I'm going to make this room even better than what the previous coach did. I'm happy to be here.
By the way, Sterling Lucas is getting the previous coach treatment. Beamer mentioned it. Deion Barnes, like a lot of situations, like when Shula takes over as the offensive coordinator, he'll mention Dow Loggins. When Dow was here, Dow, all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't think Sterling Lucas's name is ever going to be mentioned here at South Carolina ever again, at least as far as Beamer's the head coach.
Yeah, no. Shane's done this before where, I mean, you bring up Dow. I mean, I don't really remember him being mentioned much at all when Shula was hired. I think it is always the previous coach and whatnot, and you're trying to move on and not rehash the past or whatever. But yeah, Sterling Lucas's name probably not going to be mentioned anytime soon.
For Deion Barnes, a younger coach, had only been a coach at Penn State. Played there, spent some time in the NFL, bounced around practice squads, played in the Alliance of American Football. Remember that league back in 2019. And then went back to Penn State to be at GA. Then ends up taking over as the edge coach the past couple years. You mentioned a little bit earlier, obviously there for Abdul Carter the past couple years. Was a GA for Micah Parsons last year there back in 2020. So he's overseen some really good talent or been a part of a room of really good talent. He's the team has finished in the first and fifth in sacks in 2023 and 2024. This year took a little bit of a step back to 30th, but a team that's had a very consistent pass rush over the past couple of years, and obviously really good when it comes to developing talent, which he's going to need to do here as well.
Yeah, and you're hoping that, you know, with the portal now open, I mean, it's been open for a few days. South Carolina's only got one public commitment so far from Jaden Gibson, wide receiver from Oklahoma. You're hoping that the connection here with some of those names you just mentioned. He's also coached some good players on Penn State's current roster that are in the portal. So you're hoping a guy like maybe Chaz Coleman. I know he's got some big suitors. He was just at LSU, ironically, with Lane Kiffin posing for photos.
A lot of guys going to be visiting LSU.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. But you're hoping that maybe a few guys from Penn State, not even just at the edge position, but you have Stan Drayton too, who coached the running backs at Penn State. You're hoping you can flip some guys from, you know, Happy Valley to Columbia, and I mean there's some good players to be had at that school for sure.
I think it's worth noting as well. Like again, Barnes played at Penn State. He's from Pennsylvania. Like this is a guy that you would think would want to stay close to home and continue to elevate at Penn State. Getting him here, that was an accomplishment.
No, big time accomplishment. Now, would it have been different if Matt Campbell hadn't been hired as the head coach and it was still James Franklin who, you know, had hired Barnes initially? Maybe. I don't know exactly, but I think, you know, with everything that went down at Penn State this year, I mean, you're right. He is from Penn State. He's from Pennsylvania. So that's a big-time move to be able to bring that guy in, especially as the guy that comes after Sterling Lucas.
So he's going to be getting to coach Dylan Stewart this upcoming year. How concerned were we about Dylan Stewart possibly leaving when Sterling Lucas left? And what does Deion Barnes have to say about him? We'll get into that coming up next. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri on your Monday here on The Game.
I mean, it's a blessing to have him in the room. But I came down here because I believe in Coach White and Coach Beamer. But it's definitely a blessing. I'm excited to be able to coach him up and help him get better. So it's definitely a big part of it as well. But I'm ready to coach all those guys in the room.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyrod and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Monday on the Game. That is the voice of new outside linebackers and defensive end coach for South Carolina, Deion Barnes, talking about the opportunity to coach Dylan Stewart starting in 2026. And when Coach Beamer called and said, hey, you want to come be my outside linebackers and edge coach? Oh, by the way, you're going to get to coach Dylan Stewart. Probably a hard thing to turn down, as we talked about a moment ago.
Yeah, I mean, I probably played a huge role in coming to South Carolina and getting to coach a guy like that. And you know, he's just one guy in that room, but he's the star of South Carolina's defense. And to have him come back for what will be his junior season and his potential NFL draft years he could declare after the 2026 season, it's going to be critical for that development to continue, and I think Deion Barnes could be an integral part of helping him get to the next level.
When this season came to an end, there were three big names that we looked at saying, okay, are these guys going to come back for South Carolina? That was Lenore Sellers, that was Dylan Stewart, and that was Nick Harbor. When the season ended, I was concerned about all three of them and their opportunity to come back. And I thought, okay, maybe you can get one of them. I thought Sellers was going to go to the draft, personally. I thought the prospect of him still being drafted in the first round was really high. I was worried about Stewart and being pursued by other suitors, and I thought Nick Harbor might go to the draft too. You got all three coming back. And again, that goes back to Jeremiah Donati. It goes back to Darren Usher. All these people playing their role obviously need the funding to do that as well. Bravo, round of applause, because you checked all three of those boxes as a starting point for making 2026 better.
Bringing those guys back was essential. Like, you had to find a way to get those guys back. And you're right, Tyler. I think there was definitely some concern that, oh, man, like, these guys might not come back. Like when the season ended and you heard Lenore's kind of laughing at the question of, will you be back for 2026, when he was asked straight up what his plans were, he kind of just laughed at it and was like, we'll see what happens. And I mean, Nick Harbor, we were kind of just nothing really. I don't think anything really big happened to where it's like, oh man, this guy's going to be leaving. But it's like he was the last guy to officially announce. And of course, it happens on Christmas Day to give everyone some big news on that day. And then Dylan Stewart with the whole LSU situation with Sterling Lucas. Like, there was definitely some cause for concern that you may not be able to get all three of these guys, but seriously, give a lot of credit to this staff at South Carolina, Shane Beamer, Darren Usher, everyone that worked to make this thing happen. Bringing those three guys back for next season was huge.
And this further, to me, says there's no excuse why next year shouldn't be better, right? Because those are three critical positions that you knew were going to be important going into next year. You didn't know if you're going to have to replace these guys or not, but you got your quarterback, you got your potential generational type of edge rusher. Okay, now make everything else around them better and get back to being the team that we hope that you can be. Because if you go 6-6 or 5-7 once again, then it's like, okay, now we're having conversations about making changes to head coaches and stuff like that.
The thing about football, though, is, as we all know, it's a team sport. I mean, like all off season leading into the 2025 season, all anyone could talk about is Lenore Sellers and Dylan Stewart, and that was it. Like, that's who everybody talked about. Right. And two players do not make up, what you do. And we saw that pretty crystal clear this season when both those guys didn't have the seasons that they necessarily expected to have or wanted to have. So, look, it's great that they're coming back, but also now you need an offensive line to go out there and block for Lenore Sellers. You need, running back help in the run game. I mean, you need more pieces on defense. So it's great. You have these star cornerstone players coming back, but you need your role players, your other stars on defense and offense to help, make this next season really good.
Want to get your thoughts as well on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. We'll go out to Ray, who's been waiting for a moment. Ray, happy New Year to you, man. How you doing? What's on your mind this morning?
Happy New Year, Tyler. Happy New Year, Jack. Yeah, I will tell you. First of all, I want to give a Gamecock some praise out there. Jadeveon Clowney had 3 sacks yesterday. I know the Cowboys didn't end up with a good year. But, man, he's showing he still got skills. I just want to applaud him because when he came with the Cowboys, he really helped them out. I mean, he's not Superman. He couldn't totally turn everything around. But at his age, I think he really it showed he's still got some time left in the big leagues. What do y'all think about that?
He had 8.5 sacks this year. I mean, I would say even before yesterday, I mean, great performance yesterday. 3 sacks, 6 tackles, 1 forced fumble. I mean, just a really good way to close out the year. And at his age, I think he deserves another contract. Now, would teams be willing to give him like a 2-3 year deal? I think probably on the lower end of a 2-year deal would make sense. But I think at this point in his career, he probably is going to continue to bounce around, get 1-year deals, and because there's just some risk when you financially put a guy under contract for 3-4 years. I mean, at this age and this stage of his career, great season. But I think right now he'll get signed for sure, but probably 1 or 2 year deal.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jake. Totally. I think a 1 or 2 year deal, but still, that's saying a lot. But want to get to the Gamecocks? Yeah, I think Coach Beamer, Donati, whoever, getting these new coaches in and retaining the big three is very important. And I think we could be a really good team next year. But guys, I am a little concerned about the old line because one thing I know about offensive linemen, you got to have good ones, but man, you got to have the numbers. And Jack, I just hope you're not in a presser, after a game next year in November. And the issue is the reason the team can't get it going. The O-line's injured and they don't have enough players. So, man, we have really got to get some O-linemen out of the portal. But I'll take another side. But thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it as always, Ray. 803-404-619. Do you have eligibility? You haven't played in college.
I have, now with the way rules can be bent all out of shape and whatnot, I don't see why not.
I did see a funny viral tweet yesterday that somebody asked the question, like, do you have to be a college athlete or can you just enter your name in the portal and hope somebody picks you up?
You probably could. I mean, what's stopping you from doing so now? Whether
your chance of getting picked up are very low.
Yeah, but hey, there's a chance.
If we should actually try this because we're gonna put Jack Veltri in the transfer portal to see if somebody needs an offensive lineman.
Yeah, who's gonna be you gonna be my agent?
I'll be your agent, man. And look, if anybody picks you up, that's a win, right? And
it's a huge one.
Maybe you're playing for Sacramento State or something, but
sure, that's we know who that school is. So
exactly. Exactly.
Now
we're trying to get you on a roster before this thing closes.
Yeah, but no, I mean, good call from Ray there. Look, I do hope that you're right. These moves that you made, bringing back the big three, and that's what they are. That, like, for people out there, like when I mentioned the big three after Nick Harbor signed, everyone was like, oh, why are we calling them the big three or whatever? Like, that's what they are, right? Like, those are the 3 big guys that you're looking to bring back, and you did. But you got to make sure it parlays now into success for 2026. And what does success look like? Is it simply just making a bowl game? Is it 7, 8, 9 wins? What is what are we looking at as the trajectory for this team? I think it has to be ultimately the college football playoff. As crazy as that might sound, Shane Beamer was outwardly saying multiple times as the season came to an end that this time next year, now we're in 2026, South Carolina will be right in the college football playoff mix. So that should be the expectation for this team.
It's going to take a lot of business in the transfer portal, which got started with one commitment last night, which we'll get into coming up on the other side as we wrap up hour number 1. It is The Extra Point. He is Jack Veltri. I'm Tyler Head. Ed Bird at Master Control on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher wrapping up hour number 1 here on your Monday on the game. And as, again, we're kind of recapping everything that's happened over the course of the past couple weeks, the transfer portal officially opened on January the 2nd, but a lot of names entered themselves into the transfer portal in the days and weeks leading up to that. And one that surprised a lot of people here locally was Brian Rowe, somebody that came in as a freshman this past year at South Carolina, played a good bit, kind of past Mazeo Bennett on the depth chart, deciding to continue his his college football career elsewhere, which leaves at least one hole open in the wide receiver room that needed to be filled in the transfer portal.
Yeah, and look, with Brian leaving, you kind of look back at the season and how things ended up shaking out for him. Again, he played pretty well at times this year, had a pretty good game against Missouri earlier on in the season. But once he got suspended for, what was it, the Oklahoma game there?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, him and a few others got suspended, and then Jaden Sellers stepped up in that slot receiver role and kind of took it took full grasp of it and held on to it the rest of the year. When you look at like that, this move wasn't that surprising, but now you have to go into the portal and hope that nobody else leaves in that receiver room. But
Dre Jacobs also leaving as well.
Dre Jacobs, that's another big one leaving. So as your leading receiver there, so you hope that you're able to go out here and get guys, but you already have brought in one with Jaden Gibson from Oklahoma join the picture.
Yeah, Jaden Gibson comes in from Oklahoma, a junior this past year, 6'5", 186 from Florida. Here's the thing, though. He hasn't played in the past 2 years. He's dealt with some injuries that's kept him off the field. He was thought to be a guy that was kind of emerging in those first couple years at Oklahoma. In 2023, had 14 receptions, 375 yards, and 5 touchdowns, but again, has not seen the field the past 2 years.
Yeah, but when healthy, I mean, you just brought up the numbers there, pretty good. Averaged 26.8 yards per catch during 2023. So we'll see. He was offered by South Carolina coming out of high school, as a lot of teams did, and his recruiter at the time was Justin Stepp, who's now at Illinois as the receivers coach there. But, I mean, look, I think this is we'll see. It's that type of move. Like, you just never know truly what it's going to look like until the games are actually played. Like, on paper, it kind of seems like a low risk, high reward type of move because you have so many receivers coming back in that room to where it's like, who knows if what role Gibson's going to play in 2026, but it at least adds another depth piece and somebody that could definitely play a role in 2026.
Yeah, again, he got injured at the end of the 2023 season, missed the entire 2024 campaign. As you guys wrote on Gamecock Central, was announced to no longer be with the team a couple months ago.
Yeah.
We don't know what that means. Was he dismissed from the team? Did he choose to leave on his own? Like, the details are still a little bit murky on that. We just know he hasn't played in 2 years.
Yeah, and again, a lot of that does have to do with injuries and whatnot. But, yeah, and I think, look, a fresh start, maybe that's just what he needs, right? A fresh start. Hopefully he's fully healthy now with, not having played in 2 years, and hopefully he can make somewhat of an impact. But, you want to go out there and probably add another receiver, I would say. And then from there, you hope that you have the guys in that room to step up and fill out the receptions that you're going to be losing between Dre Jacobs and Brian Rowe.
Well, from a size standpoint, he's exactly what you would want. Again, 6'5", and we obviously know, Nick Harbor's going to occupy one side of the field. You would think he could occupy that other side of the field, and then you have plenty of those guys that are the smaller to kind of medium-sized wide receivers to fill in those gaps elsewhere. So if you can have two guys of good size on either side, that's obviously an ideal way to build an offense, especially one that we think is going to be utilized in the pass quite a bit with Kendall Briles.
Yeah, and maybe he's like I don't know, just from a size standpoint, maybe he's like your what Dale Von Campbell was for you in 2024, a big guy that, granted, didn't really emerge until the latter half of the season. But I think if you can find a way to get some production out of Gibson at this size over the course of an entire season, not saying he needs to be your leading receiver and go for 1,000 yards. That would be awesome if you could flip this guy into that. But if you're getting some good production out of him to where, hey, like, teams are going to be double teaming Nick Harbor, trying to take him out of the picture. If you're having Gibson out there and he takes some of that alleviated pressure off of Nick Harbor, that's a really good thing to where it's like, hey, you have to worry about both of these guys, not just one guy versus the other.
Yeah, and again, hopefully the injury stuff's not something that ends up rearing its ugly head. Again, you've got a pretty full wide receiver room. Again, you didn't want to lose Rowe. You didn't want to lose Dre Jacobs. But you still got a lot of bodies in that room, and Gibson doesn't guarantee that he's going to come in here and be, your wide receiver number 2. You would hope that would be the case, but we'll see what else they do in the transfer portal and how the rest of that room ends up filling out. But again, that's an area that you do at least have a couple of spots that you can fill.
Yeah, I mean, you feel pretty good about this move. I mean, there's a lot more that you have to do this offseason now. I mean, there's a lot of more important pressing positions, I would say, especially as Shane Beamer's mentioned it before, the line of scrimmage, offense and defensive line. You gotta add some pieces here over the next few days, over the next few weeks, but at least starting somewhere and adding a skill player at receiver, I think it's a good start for South Carolina.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. While that's certainly not your top priority in the transfer portal, if you see somebody out there that has a connection that's willing to want to come here, then you're not going to say no, especially now that you have more expanded scholarships that you can offer.
Yeah, and I will say this. I think there's been definitely some fans that are wondering why is it taking South Carolina some time to make moves, and when you see other schools out there already adding 3-4 different guys out of the transfer portal, I mean, these things take time. I mean, it's not like South Carolina hasn't had guys coming on visits. I mean, go on GamecockCentral.com, any of these big websites. I mean, there's a lot of guys coming on visits to South Carolina. Gibson was one of those guys over the weekend. It's just a matter of, okay, can you get this guy to commit? I mean, does he have to take other visits? I mean, there's a lot that goes into that whole process. But I think when this period is up after the transfer portal does close, I think we're going to be feeling pretty good about what South Carolina has done, filling out the gaps that it needs to fill out.
That was the first one to commit to South Carolina out of the transfer portal. We'll get more of those names coming in the next couple days and talk about them as they decide to come here. Coming up in hour number 2, what's happened in the college football playoff the past couple of weeks. We'll get into that coming up next here on The Game. right, welcome back in. Hour number 2. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri along with you here on your Monday, going back over everything that has happened in the past couple weeks, not only in the world of South Carolina football, and there's been a lot. Ray mentioned it a moment ago. A mass exodus of offensive linemen. Shed Surratt and Nolan Hay, the only 2 starters. Guys that have started any games for South Carolina on the offensive line, still left hanging after, up to this point, they can still enter the portal if they want to.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very busy time rebuilding the offensive line of the portal for South Carolina.
It's going to be vital for South Carolina to rebuild. I mean, they have no choice. I mean, you have currently, if no one else enters the portal, you would have 10 scholarship offensive linemen heading into 2026 returning. I mean, well, 7 returning.
Yes.
With 3 high school guys coming in. So
was it 15? Was that the number that Beamer said he liked to be around?
Did he say that?
Was it 12? He said a number a while back. It was between like 12 and 15 of like ideally the scholarship bodies you want.
Yeah, you definitely need a few more, I would say. But look, I mean, 7 guys leaving. That's the thing, is that you hire a new offensive line coach. So maybe right then and there, you're probably entering the portal because of that. But it's also like, maybe Shane also mentioned the financial aspect of it. Maybe these guys wanted more than what they should be getting paid, and looking for opportunities elsewhere. But point is, I think you're feeling fine losing anybody on this offensive line.
I don't think there's anybody in the offensive line room that if they came there demanding more, you'd say, yes, I think you earned that.
Yeah, like you would be, I'd be laughing right in their face, thinking like, yeah, you've definitely earned a raise. No, like after giving up 44 or 43 sacks this year, 42 of which were on Lenore Sellers. I mean, just a really rough year for this offensive line, and that's why changes are being made, and that's why this room is going to look entirely different heading into 2026.
It's dangerous building an offensive line out of the portal. It's worked, and it's not worked at some places.
And the other thing is, I also think it's a little dangerous. It's like in hindsight, it's fine letting all these guys go, because it's like, what did they really do for you in 2025 that was like, oh man, we can't lose this guy, we can't lose that guy. Like I said, I think you're okay losing all these guys. The problem with the mass exodus is that's fine. You're now just going to have to replace 7 scholarship offensive linemen, and that might be a tough challenge, because guess what? And even Shane mentioned it in his press conference last Friday. Like, there are other schools out there that are in need of offensive linemen as well. So it's going to be a real battle for South Carolina to get everyone that they want. But you're hoping by the end of this period here, they do have a much better, at least on paper, looking better offensive line room.
And there are offensive linemen on campus as we speak, and in the next couple days visiting South Carolina. We'll see if those guys do end up deciding to commit. The past couple weeks, we've had the first 2 rounds of the 12-team college football playoff get underway. First round kind of, I think, went the way some people expected. Obviously, had the blowout games when it came to Oregon and Ole Miss handling their business against the G5. Again, I've gone back and forth on this. The G5, I can understand having the seat for them at the table, but I think it's very clear, especially in today's world of the transfer portal, that no G5 team is ever going to be, in my opinion, good enough to make a run at the national championship. Maybe having a G5 natty kind of stand on its own, maybe take the top 4 G5 teams and let them play for something, that might be the future going forward.
I agree. I think we are at a point now where, look, I think the way it needs to be is essentially the model of, okay, let's get the best teams in. Because right now you're not getting the best teams in. You're getting the automatic bids, and then you're getting the at-large bids in, which you can say are some of the best teams. But ultimately, I think right now, 2 G5 schools being in the playoff, and look, that a lot of that had to do with Duke winning the ACC, because if Virginia wins the ACC, James Madison isn't in the playoff. But yeah, I mean, like, you want competitive games, and look at the TV ratings are probably significantly different for the A&M Miami game versus the James Madison Oregon game. I mean,
well, they put those games intentionally up against the NFL games, knowing they weren't going to draw ratings.
That's the problem, is that they know those games aren't going to draw ratings. They know those games are going to be probably lopsided, and of course they were. Now, Could you get an upset every now and then? Sure. Like Boise State last year was fairly competitive going up against Penn State.
But they also had a generational running back.
Exactly. You're not going to get that every. The talent level it's just a bit different. It's not like FCS compared to FBS, like Power 4 versus FCS. It's not like that. But it's that happy medium of like it's better than the FCS, but it's like it's not on the level of Power 4. And I think eventually we will see, maybe with the 16-team playoff in the future potentially, we see just get the best teams in. And if a G5 does earn their way in, it's that they are one of the best teams in the country as not an automatic bid.
And that would be certainly looked at differently. Again, Tulane blows out Ole Miss, or Ole Miss blows out Tulane. Oregon handles James Madison. I know they scored a lot of points in the second half, but they were never going to win that game. Alabama, it looked like, was maybe going to be going home early. Gets down 17-0 to Oklahoma. They end up roaring back in the second half, picking up the 34-24 win there. And then the surprise of the first round, Miami, who many people didn't think deserved to be in, goes on the road to Texas A&M and in a defensive slugfest of a game picks up the 10-3 win.
For all my bad staff picks this year, I'm glad to say that I was the only one in staff picks to have A&M losing that game to Miami. Yeah. The way I look at A&M, I think I mentioned this on the last show with Terry before heading off for break. A&M, what have they done this year? They've lost to they lost to Texas. They went on the road to Notre Dame, picked up a really good win there. But look at their SEC schedule, man, and just look at the teams that they beat. Look at the way they struggled in that first half against South Carolina, and like this team has never really proven before that they've never been on that sort of stage before. Never been to the college football playoff. Didn't make it to the SEC championship game this year. I mean, you're almost looking at this situation like, was giving that contract to Mike Elko like a giant mistake? Because look, A&M could be good every year and make the playoff, but if they're not winning these games and winning national championships, then they're underperforming, in my opinion.
I mean, it was a step forward. They didn't go 8-4. They did make the playoff, had a double-digit win season, so it was a step in the right direction. I think what happens next year is the big tell of like, okay, are you moving in the right direction, or was this year just kind of a one-year anomaly? And let's give credit to Miami. Right? Again, they were the last team in. It was controversial, them getting in over Notre Dame, though I think they should have just been ranked in front of Notre Dame the entire time. Not only did they beat A&M on the road, they then beat what I think many people considered, despite losing to Indiana, was the favorite in Ohio State, beating them last week in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. I mean, for Miami to go in there and do that against the defending national champions and win that game. I mean, they were up, 21-0? I'm trying to 14-0, right? Mm-hmm. And just taking immediate control of that game and then holding on to win. I mean, it's crazy to see what Miami's doing. I kind of like the chaos this year. Like, this is what I think we need a little bit is every now and then you get some sleeper teams, Cinderella teams, if you will, going on runs. And who would have thought Miami and Ole Miss would be playing each other for a chance to go to the national championship?
Well, now that we're in the second year of the 12-team college football playoff, teams with getting buys now 1-7. As Georgia did lose to Ole Miss and Texas Tech did lose to Oregon. Texas Tech losing to Oregon isn't really a surprise because I think everybody looked at Oregon as the better team, much like Penn State beating Boise State a year ago in the Fiesta Bowl. Indiana, though, left no doubt. They dominated Alabama in the Rose Bowl last week. That is Alabama's biggest loss since the 1998 Music City Bowl, where they got beat by over 30 points by Virginia Tech. Alabama doesn't lose games like that.
It's just crazy, like how that game went down. Like, let's give a lot of credit to Indiana first. Indiana is far and away the best team right now. And look, I mean, they got to play Oregon in the Peach Bowl this week, so that'll be tough. But I mean, Indiana, it's tough to be a team twice in a season, but Indiana is far and away the best team right now, and they probably should win the college football playoff national championship this year. I mean, no doubt about it. But Alabama, man. I mean, what do you do now moving forward? I mean, Kalen DeBoer's not going anywhere. He'll be here for his third season. I mean, he's not going to Michigan since they, already made a hire. But I don't know, man. I can't get a good read on Kalen DeBoer at Alabama because it's like there's some games where it's like, he went to Athens. He's beaten Georgia twice in the regular season, and then he's lost twice to Oklahoma in the regular season, and he's made a college football playoff appearance and won a game. But I don't know. There's it's a lot of unpredictability there.
Yeah, and again, they did have the comeback win against Oklahoma. Despite starting that game really flat, but they looked absolutely dead in the SEC championship. They looked dead in the Rose Bowl. They couldn't run the ball to save their life this entire year. 23 rushing yards against Indiana the other day. It's one of those things where, like, I think Alabama's always going to be a good team. Like, they'll always float around that 9 to 10 win mark. I just don't know if Kalen DeBoer is ever going to be, like, national championship good or not.
No. And, the thing that probably bugs him more than anything, if I had to imagine, is he's always going to be the guy compared to Nick Saban.
Yep.
And that's an impossible.
Hey, you know that when you take the job.
Yeah, that's an impossible ceiling to live up to. I mean, he's not going to be Nick Saban, and he's proving that through his first 2 years here now. Year 3 is going to be pivotal, though, because a lot of the guys from the Saban era are going to be leaving and moving on. And, I mean, we're probably seeing the first real year of, okay, what does a full Kalen DeBoer team look like at Alabama? And if it's like this again, I don't know. I mean, the expectations are just different at Alabama. And that is because of Nick Saban and what he did. So if you're making the playoff barely, losing 4 games again, 3-4 games, whatever, and getting, bounced like this, I mean, does Alabama just move on from him after next year? That's a discussion for another day. But if you're Alabama, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the hire, I don't want to say it hasn't been a failure, I don't think, because he's made the playoff and whatnot after missing the playoff last year, but just not ideal.
It hasn't been a failure, but it's not been as good as I think a lot of people thinks it should have been up to this point.
Yes.
Right. And you have games booking the season, Florida State, and now this game against Indiana, where you just didn't look like you had the fight in you, right? You got run over by Florida State in week number 1. You got road graded by, albeit a really good Indiana team, but we saw Alabama quit. Alabama's never quit before. We saw them quit against Indiana.
They definitely did. I mean, getting absolutely embarrassed. And like you said, Tyler, I mean, the last time that happened, 98 Music City Bowl, like, we don't see
Shane Beamer was on that team.
We don't see Alabama, the Alabama Crimson Tide, ever really lose like this. The only other time I could think of them getting absolutely embarrassed was the second national championship against Clemson.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence.
In Santa Clara against Trevor Lawrence, which, I mean, that Alabama team was just loaded.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, it's different, but getting embarrassed like this, I mean, you won a playoff game. That's great. I think things would be a lot different. I don't even think Kalen DeBoer would be at Alabama right now if he had lost that game to Oklahoma. I think he'd be at Michigan, quite honestly, but he's not, and Alabama's got some things to figure out here this offseason.
Well, the best game of the college football playoff so far goes to Ole Miss and Georgia. We'll get into that coming up next, as well as what happened in the NFL's final day of the regular season yesterday, coming up next as we continue on with the Extra Point. It's our head and Jack Beltry with you on your Monday on the Game.
47 yards. And it is good! Right down the middle!
Welcome back in. Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Monday on the Game. That was the call on the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day. Ole Miss, not quite a walk-off field goal. There was a couple seconds left, but picking up the field goal to elevate them to the 39-34 win. In case you missed the final kickoff of the game, Georgia did unfortunately did have a safety on the final kickoff with the backwards lateral, so it ended up being a 39-34 game. But Ole Miss, with brand new coach Pete Golding, survive in what was one of the best performances you'll ever see from Trinidad Chambliss, winning against Georgia and advancing through the semifinals of the college football playoff.
You mentioned it there with Chambliss, 30 of 46, 362 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And this guy, I could see why Ole Miss really wants him back for next year, filing an eligibility waiver, and we'll see if he ends up getting that cleared and able to come back. But, man, he's really good. I mean, they ran the football pretty well in this game with Kawan Lacey. Ole Miss, I mean, avenging that loss to Georgia earlier in the year, a game that in Athens, do we feel like they probably should have won that game?
This game was very similar to where Georgia's had a lot of trouble stopping Ole Miss. They were going up and down the field, and then in that game earlier on the regular season, they finally made them punt in the fourth quarter. Georgia outscored them 17-0 and won that game. But you saw Ole Miss's ability to move the ball up and down the field on them, and they just continued that, into this game. So it didn't come as a surprise the way that game ended up working out.
No. So, I mean, Ole Miss moving on to play Miami in the Fiesta Bowl this week. And, I mean, Indiana, Oregon will be in the Peach Bowl. I mean, are we surprised at all that this is how it shook out? I think everyone's probably surprised about Miami, but the rest of the field.
This isn't the Final Four I would have had it predicted. I didn't think Miami was going to advance past the first round. Personally,
yeah.
I mean, again, they were lucky to be in the spot that they were in. We've seen Mario Cristobal falter in big moments, and give them credit because they've made it all the way to the semifinals. They beat a really good Ohio State team last week to do that. Again, Ole Miss, I thought with Pete Golding taking over as head coach, there was going to be moments in that game with, like, first-time coach jitters, right? I know he coached his first game against Tulane a couple weeks ago, but I thought in a big game where it's going to come down to the very end, there was going to be some kind of mistake he might make as a head coach, and he didn't, and he deserves a lot of credit for that.
He's done a phenomenal job handling that, the whole thing. I think the players have also done a really good job because, look, the way Lane left was just messy, to say the least, and the after effects of that with some of the coaches that are going to be joining him at LSU still on staff at Ole Miss through the playoff run. And it's just, there's a lot going on, and you got to give a lot of credit to Ole Miss to get to this point where you're one win away from going to the national championship. It would be quite a story, even if Ole Miss, let's say they do make it to the national championship and they get their doors blown off and they still lose. It's quite an accomplishment for them, considering all that happened at the end of the regular season after the Egg Bowl. Lane leaves, and you make it to the national championship without him. Shoot, if you win the national championship without him, I mean, Pete Golding's going to be getting a statue built in Oxford. It's going to be like that.
Here's the thing. They're talented enough, right?
Yeah.
Like we knew that, and that makes Lane Kiffin leaving all that more insane. It's like, bro, you have a team that's capable of winning a national championship. Why not stay with him? And again, there's a lot of reasons for why he obviously ended up leaving. Is it more, will it drive Lane Kiffin more insane if they win the national championship or if they don't?
I think it would drive him more insane if they, I don't know.
Which, by the way, he's getting paid by LSU for winning these games.
Yeah.
By the way.
So, I mean, I don't know. He's such a hard person to kind of read of, like, okay, how's he feeling about this? What's going through his head? I mean, I don't know what's in that brain of his, honestly. But I don't know. That's a tough question to answer, quite honestly.
I think if they were to lose to Miami, then in his mind, he's like, I'm the missing piece for why they couldn't go all the way. That's probably the way he thinks about it.
Which, spoiler, I don't think he is the missing piece. They're just fine without him, right? And if they lose this game to Miami on January 8th here in 3 days, like, so be it. I think Miami's also just playing really good football right now, and
good defense.
Like, good defense, Carson Beck, the playmakers they have there getting the job done. I mean, if they lost to Miami, I don't think it'd be a surprise. I mean, they're actually an underdog in this game, as Miami's a 3.5-point favorite. So we'll see.
So that was obviously the best game in the college football playoff, maybe best game of all of the past year when it comes to football. Happened last night on Sunday Night Football with the Steelers and the Ravens playing for the AFC North title and the last spot in the NFL playoffs. It comes all the way down to the end. The fourth quarter is just bananas from start to finish, and it ends up Tyler Loop missing the field goal to elevate the Steelers, another 10-win season, winning the AFC North and getting back to the playoffs.
Just you summed it up. Crazy game. I mean, that was game of the year right there, unequivocally, hands down. That fourth quarter, I watched the first half and then didn't watch much of the third quarter, and then I turned it on with like 5 minutes to go, and just the final 5 minutes of that game. That's all you need to watch to see how insane it was. I mean, you got the busted coverage on defense by the Steelers to let Zay Flowers score. You got the touchdown down the sideline to score the go-ahead touchdown. And then you got Chris Boswell, who hasn't missed, I think I saw the stat yesterday, hasn't missed an extra point in like 4 seasons or something. He misses the extra point. And right there, when it's 26-24 in my head, I'm like, the Ravens are going to go down and win this thing.
Yeah, it seemed perfect.
And everyone's going to criticize missing the 44-yard field goal by Loop. You can't miss that field goal. It was lined up perfectly for you. But I think also the thing we forget, go back to the play before that. The Ravens lost yardage by Lamar, taking a knee and running a little bit backwards. Why not just run the ball at the middle with Derrick Henry, try to get a few extra yards? You could still line it up pretty centered to the field goal post.
Sure.
But try to get some extra yards because every yard obviously matters. And in that moment, it certainly did.
Yeah, I think it was pretty windy last night in Pittsburgh, which is what took Boswell's extra point on the prior attempt, off to the side there. Every yard certainly would have mattered for Tyler Loop. And again, you go back to a year ago where they have to let go of Justin Tucker because everything that happened there. And Tirico did a really good job setting the scene of in the offseason, they got rid of Justin Tucker and they have to go out. They find Tyler Loop and they said he's made of the right stuff and he's made some big kicks this year. He never missed one inside of 50 yards the entire year. And with everything on the line, unfortunately, he comes up short.
But there's the human element to it. You could be the greatest kicker in the world, but nothing can quite prepare you for that spot of it's a chilly, cold night, windy, on the road, in the best rivalry in the NFL. And the pressure, you make that kick, you're going to the playoffs. If you miss, your season's over. I mean, there's really nothing that can quite prepare you for that moment when when people are always saying, oh, why is a kicker missing that kick? He should be able to make that no problem. But again, the pressure of that moment is it's unreal. Yeah. And now the Ravens are out of the playoffs. Steelers are moving on, playing the Texans. The big question now for the Ravens is, what do you do? What do you do with John Harbaugh? I mean, he's been there for as long as we have been around, man. It's crazy how long he's been there. Won the Super Bowl a dozen years ago, but that was 2012. I mean, this is 2026, and the Ravens finished under 500 this year.
You've had a multi-time MVP in Lamar Jackson that you've won, 3 playoff games with? It's like
you have Derrick Henry, arguably the best running back, not this year with James Cook, but the best running back usually in the NFL. It's disappointing. It's disappointing for the Ravens, and I don't know what you do.
We'll see if John Harbaugh joins Raheem Morris and Kevin Stefanski in the unemployment line. Raheem Morris, by the way, who won the NFC South for the Panthers yesterday by beating the Saints. That's the most NFC South thing I've ever seen.
That is
where because the NFL positioned it where the Buccaneers and the Panthers play on Saturday. But if the Bucs won, we would have to wait until Sunday to find out who won the South.
Absolutely, just crazy. And the Panthers, I think, earned their way in with some really good wins this year. But the NFC South, I mean, that is the most NFC South thing I think you could ever see.
It's a joke. And look, real quick, I was never a fan of the Raheem Morris hire to begin with. He'd been on the staff before, and people forget he was the interim coach when they fired Dan Quinn. He coached like half the season. And if you didn't think he was good enough then to hire, what made a difference 3 years later? I get it. He won a Super Bowl with the Rams as a defense coordinator. Look, he's a good coordinator. He's not a good head coach. He had one good season at Tampa Bay, and that's it. And they didn't even make the playoffs that year. I think Raheem Morris is somebody that can be a good assistant, not a good head coach.
Yeah. What is it with defensive coordinators just not panning out as head coaches?
I don't know. Maybe it's the way the game's going. You need more offensive-minded guys.
Yeah. Same thing with the Jets and Aaron Glenn. I mean, it's a.
By the way, the Jets, 0 interceptions on the year. First time that's ever happened in the modern era of the NFL. That is impressive.
The most Jets thing to ever happen.
The most Jets thing to ever happen, absolutely. As it's going to be a long road back to relevancy for them, and we'll see what happens on the rest of Black Monday as that rolls along for the NFL. Tough weekend on the hardwood for men's basketball. We'll peel off that Band-Aid coming up next, as well as what one Notre Dame coach did at the end of their game that got a lot of people talking. That's coming up. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry with you on your Monday here on The Game. All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry with you on your Monday here on The Game. We'll get into what happened for South Carolina men's basketball in just a moment. But first, it is time for Who Sprung a Leak, brought to you by our friends over at American Leak Detection. And we head over to the ACC. Cal visiting South Bend to take on Notre Dame, because that's an ACC game, in case you've forgotten. And, well, at the end of regulation, this happened.
Here's an opportunity to win the game.
Lob comes into Carson Tout. Plays it up top. Shrewsbury off balance. California's hung on and won. Shrewsbury got a look. And a wild sequence over in the corner of the court near the Notre Dame bench. Micah Shrewsbury needed to be held back.
So if you didn't catch this, Micah Shrewsbury, who's the head coach at Notre Dame, goes after an official at the end of the game. So Notre Dame is leading in the waning seconds against Cal. Day Ames launches a three-pointer with 5 seconds left and gets fouled. It's close. It's controversial. They rule it a foul. He gets the and one, makes the and one. That puts Cal ahead 72-71. Notre Dame would go on to lose the game. And as soon as the whistle blew and the clock at 0, Micah Shrewsbury beelines for the official. Now, he gets held back, doesn't get his hands on him or anything like that, but he's like frothing at the mouth, mad about this foul call. Doesn't speak to the media after the game. The ACC reprimands him, doesn't suspend him, does reprimand him, but, man, talk about losing your cool.
Yeah, he's had a few incidents over the first. It was not celebrating Christmas after losing to Purdue Fort Wayne, and then this game here, 72-71 to Cal. I mean, I understand it to some extent of being mad about that call, but yeah, freaking out and running after the official after. I mean, that's a bit overkill in my opinion. So
it's one of the do you think it would have actually hurt the official? Or is that I want to make a point by making it look like I'm really mad, and knowing before you get to the stripes, somebody's going to grab you and hold you back?
Yeah, I don't think he was going to attack him or anything, but verbally, go after him. Sure, I could totally see that.
Call him everything but a child of God.
Yeah, God, just absolutely crazy the way that game ended.
So that happened for Notre Dame's men's team on the hardwood as they come up short to Cal. Unfortunately for South Carolina, their men's team also coming up short as they started SEC play against one of the hottest teams in all of college basketball this year, the Vanderbilt Commodores, who continue their undefeated run, 14-0 to start the year as they come into Colonial Life Arena, picking up the 83-71 win as South Carolina drops to 0-1 in conference play.
Yeah, this team, there's 17 games left to go in the regular season, but they're 0-5 in quad 1 and quad 2 games. Haven't beat a good team all season long to this point. All their wins, Tyler, this season are against quad 4 teams. After the way last season went, it would not surprise me if we're heading down the same path here of this team isn't going to be very good. Now, they do have opportunities, right? They go to LSU tomorrow night. That's a game that I think they could potentially win. They'll play Oklahoma and A&M later on this month. There are winnable games on this schedule for sure this first month, but I mean, that game against Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's a really good team. Give them a lot of credit, but they were without their leading scorer in Duke Miles, also without another starter there, so they were down 2 starters in this game, and Vanderbilt still won by double digits. I mean, that's concerning for South Carolina.
And one thing that Coach Paris talked about after the game, sorry to call this on the fly here, Ed, this will be cut number 18. Coach Paris said this was a lesson in aggression.
I think that game for our guys hopefully was a lesson in what aggression really looks like, aggressive manner of play when you attack the rim especially. We did attack some. We needed to. You have to. The way they play makes you attack some. But as the finish was taking place, theirs involved more contact, more friction, and because they were initiating it, they were also prepared for it and expected it, and then were rewarded by that, as well as free throws. But so, and ours were finesseful, and we have a skilled group, and aggressive doesn't just mean willingness to shoot the ball makes me an aggressive player. I'm talking about aggressive moves, aggressive attacks. And so I thought that they did a good job of that, and we did not do a great job of that. Aside from some other things, we didn't shoot the ball great. But that was the thing that stood out the most to me. And so we'll have to, it's just a decision guys are going to have to make. We'll try some things to simulate that, but it's just a decision guys are going to have to make when you attack. If they're going to be aggressive like that, they're aggressive defensively and reaching and all that kind of stuff. And if you're going to do that, you're going to have to pay the price, because we're going to attack aggressively off the dribble. And so.
And this is becoming a common theme and something that he's talked about a couple times in these losses, that they've had this hesitancy to be aggressive, this hesitancy to be as physical as they need to be, because the three shots aren't falling. And they made 7 of them on Saturday, kind of made 4 in a pretty tight window there in the middle of the first half. But outside of that, not what you need. Another game under 30% there. But you look at their numbers, they're one of the best two-point shooting teams, one of the best free throw teams in America. So if you're cutting the basket more, if you're shooting from inside the paint, if you're drawing more contact and getting the line, that's a pathway to success, but they're not doing that the way they need to.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your mind around why South Carolina isn't doing that, because they are. They're top 10 in the country in two-point percentage, and I'm not sure where they are in free throws, but
I think it's 8 or 9.
Yeah, like they're really good in both of those metrics, and they're not good at three-point shooting. They're barely above 30% as a team this season. And I think that's the interesting part, because Lamont, later in that press conference, Lamont noted that during one of his timeouts, he literally told his guys, like, look, we need to be aggressive. We need to attack the basket, draw fouls, do all that. He was literally demonstrating it, like showing, like, here's how you go about doing it. And the players after the game knew they needed to go out there and do it, yet it just didn't happen consistently for whatever reason. So I don't know. I mean, this was not a good way to start off conference play at all. You had the little string of success there in the first half where you mentioned they hit a few threes, but I mean, you got to think about it. They started off both the first and second half 0 of 8 from three-point range. That was not just the entire game, but in the first half 0 of 8, second half 0 of 8 as well. So three-point shooting's not working. I don't know why they're not trying. Look, three-point shots are worth more than twos, but
sure,
when you're actually good at getting to the line, drawing fouls, and hitting those two-point shots, I'm not sure why you're not taking more of them. Yeah. You're going to be able to beat teams when you hit three-point shots, but it's just not going in right now.
And as you mentioned, that's the mystery of this team. The coach knows it. The players know it. It's being communicated in-game what they need to do, and it's not happening. Why is that? Is that a fear for the players? Is that a hesitancy because they don't think they can do it? I don't know, but that seems to be the pathway to success if they're going to survive in the SEC. And you got some tough games coming up. Look, every single game in the SEC is going to be tough. You do have a potentially manageable game tomorrow night taking on LSU. We'll see what happens there, but every single game, it's going to be a grind, game in and game out. Look, there's going to be inevitably a game where the three-shot does fall, and they're going to make 10 or 12 of them, and they'll beat somebody. But that's not going to be enough to be consistent based on what we've seen so far.
No, like, you need to find a way to win tomorrow. And because, look, if you go, let's say you lose this game to LSU tomorrow, then you lose to Georgia on Saturday. I mean, you're 0-3 to start off conference play, and you're already digging yourself a very deep hole. I mean, I don't think many people are expecting this team to make the tournament at season end. I think they would take a real miracle at this point, but for South Carolina, they've got to show progress because after last season, you have to be better this year.
Does Lamont Pierce have to make the tournament to be the coach here next year?
I mean, that's a high bar to get at this point in the year. I think you got to be somewhere near 500 in conference play. Even then, I don't even think that would get you into the tournament. Like going 7-8 wins, I don't know if that's going to get you in. So right now, you gotta show you have a pulse.
Yep.
And tomorrow night against LSU, a good opportunity to do that.
Where are you at with this men's basketball team? Let us know on the Firehouse Subs text line at 803-404-6100. We're talking about the women's team did as well yesterday as we come back and wrap up hour number 2. It is the Extra Point, Tyler Ed and Jack Beltry on your Monday here on The Game. All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyrod and Jack Veltri along with you here on your Monday Wrap It Up Hour number 2, talking some basketball. Again, the men's team falling 83-71 to Vanderbilt on Saturday, starting off conference play, unfortunately, 0-1. They'll head on the road to LSU tomorrow night to see if they can pick up their first win of the conference slate. The women's team has played 2 conference games so far, picked up a pretty dominant win over Alabama on New Year's Day. And then yesterday, pretty tricky road test as they took on the Florida Gators down in Gainesville. 74-63 the final score, but that game was nip and tuck most of the way through that. Dawn Staley explained after the game that was a good way to survive a test early in conference play.
I mean, they're all going to be like this. Like, they're not going to be like, we just going to walk through and win games by 30 points. That is not how it's going to be in our league. But, I mean, we knew it was going to be a tough game. Last time we were here, we were down big. Like, it might have been double digits. You remember? Last time we were double digits, early, double digits. So we reminded our players of that. I don't think any of them were on the team, maybe Raven. So, I mean, we keep that in the back of our minds and just, you know, in real time, you got to figure out how to win. You got to make adjustments. You got to make sure your players are confident enough to turn the page and get to the next thing, so it doesn't impact, you know, what's happening in real time. So, I mean, they're still very young, still a young group as far as how much time they've been together, but they're growing up.
So Tanaya Latson got injured in the Providence game. I believe that was on December 28th, so she's not been available for these past 2 games. And, of course, she was the best scorer in all of women's college basketball a season ago, has done a lot of really good things for the team this year, but it definitely seems like as they play some better competition, you're going to notice that hole if she's not there. Obviously, want to get her back healthy, hopefully here soon, as they got tough games like Georgia and Texas and stuff coming up here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few glaring things that stick out from this Florida game that are a bit concerning, but it's like I think they can clean them up pretty swiftly, knowing, you know, Dawn's the head coach, and, you know, she always has done a great job at South Carolina. I mean, missing 10 free throws and turning the ball over 21 times. I mean, that's unacceptable. You still won by double digits. You won by 11, but it's like, shoot, you make 8 of those free throws. You probably win by 20, and you turn the ball over half the amount. I mean, and it's like Florida turned the ball over 20 times as well, but it's like, if you're South Carolina, like Joyce Edwards having 5 turnovers and, you know, Raven Johnson having 4, it's like these are two of your best players on the team. And I know it's women's basketball, but like you gotta go ahead and like minimize these mistakes as much as possible.
And one news piece from them over the past couple weeks, they did add French forward Alicia Tornabais. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She was with the team yesterday. She was sitting on the bench. We don't know when she's going to play, but they bring her in obviously to help out for a team that's been injured and beaten up this year, but obviously would add good size. She's 6'7", would be the biggest player on the team. We just don't quite know yet when she's going to see the court.
But look, there's still a lot of time left in conference play, and assuming this team makes a run deep into the NCAA tournament, there will be a lot of time for her to still potentially make an impact when and if she does eventually play for South Carolina. But yeah, you want to get Tanaya Latson back here pretty soon. But look, you went on the road, won the game. Like Dawn said, it's tough to win on the road in the SEC. You move on here, get ready for Arkansas, but you got to clean up these mistakes.
I asked the question at the end of that last segment of where you're at with this men's team as we head into game number 2 of conference play tomorrow night, taking on LSU, which, of course, you can listen to right here on the game. Nick says, I don't think they'll get an SEC win. Now, I don't think they're going to go defeated in conference play, but based on what we've seen so far, unless things change significantly, it's going to be a rough, 17 games?
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as saying they're going to go winless in conference play. First off, the SEC is just not as good as it was last year. So by that alone, look, South Carolina was able to win 2 SEC games last year against what was obviously probably the greatest season by a conference in recent memory. So just by that alone, I think South Carolina should be able to win a few more games this year, but it's not going to do much. You're still probably going to end up under 500 in the league. I mean, you're going to miss the tournament potentially if that all ends up being the case. And the question is, I mean, does Lamont Paris get another year? he would be looking to return for his 5th season. And, I mean, look, this thing could fall off the road really fast if Carolina starts off 0-3 and then you get some tough games. You have to go to Auburn. You got to play Oklahoma, like Florida at the end of the month. Like, it's tough. The schedule's still going to be tough. It's more manageable, I think. I don't think they're going winless, but I really can't see a way in which they're getting near 500. Not the way they're playing right now. This team just has not gotten the job done in these games, and some of them have been close against quality competition, but close isn't winning, and that's the problem right now.
Yep. Next up against LSU, Georgia coming in here on Saturday and try and see if they can get themselves back on the right track. We'll obviously stay on top of that as the season does roll along. I think we fit everything into these 2 hours.
I think we did a very good job for these 2 hours.
Kind of compiling everything that happened the past couple of weeks. We'll expand on this stuff a little bit more. There's probably going to be more coaches fired in the NFL that we can certainly get to. Tomorrow we got semifinals preview later on this week. I got some thoughts on the way the college football playoff schedule is right now. Maybe we can get into a little bit more tomorrow. But good to be back, Jack.
Good to be back,
we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Coming up next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Get back in to the Gamecock news that's transpired over the past couple of weeks with Wes and Chris here on your Monday on the Game.